All right, we're gone. We're going. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, welcome to everybody that's joined us from the members of the public today, and also to any of the members of the public online. Welcome. What we're going to do this afternoon or this evening at this extraordinary meeting is to look at Central Bedfordshire's local plan in terms of a number of sites which they've identified for potentially residential development. Before I get into the main agenda, can I just record any apologies for absence for this evening from absence? Haven't received any. Okay. No. Okay. Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is for councillors to declare any declarations of interest in terms of what we're talking about this evening, apart from possibly living in the vicinity of some of the proposed developments. We're all in that boat. So.
Chair, I would say most of us live in this area, so
yeah.
I could identify two sites and then not, which I think obviously will come up for conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. So now we move to the period when it's open for public question. So if you've got questions that you would like to ask members of the public, this is your opportunity to ask them now. Once we close the public question time, you are all welcome to stay for the remaining part of the meeting. But it wouldn't be normal for members of the public to be able to ask questions as we go through that process. Okay, so I know some people submitted a question beforehand, but if I was just to go clockwise around the room, starting over here, does anybody want to ask a question at this point in time? Even if you want to repeat the ones that you said earlier, that's fine as well.
I think Peter. Yeah, sorry. My name's Anthony Ambrose.
Yeah.
The question was talked about just before the meeting. There was about the plan for brown sites within Dunstable and locally really, and just to understand if there is a bigger plan for Dunstable and the sites within the town that are apparently available for building on that don't necessarily make part of the local plan, but I guess you guys have got sites of, or Central Bedfordshire have got sites of, that have the potential to ease the issues with residential housing and building that come up on, you know, these local plans.
Yeah, thanks for that question. So it's whether there is there are other brownfield sites that have not been included in what we're looking at today that could be considered for residential development.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but
this plan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this plan is looking at sites which the council's not aware of. So they want that input from the general public. Obviously, CVC will be aware of sites they already own, and we are aware that plans have gone through from like building on the library site. That's there. The old ambulance station, again, there are plans to build accommodation there. So I think CVC are aware of those sites already, and they've made decisions on those. And in most cases, I think it could be further residency built on those sites once plans have been agreed.
so these are additional plans, and that they are.
Yeah, so it's additional plots.
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily visible to you know, us attending or the town. If I'm not following the planning process for these sites, I wouldn't necessarily see them.
No, but I think I presume there's no reason why members of the public couldn't know whether those brownfield sites were more general, but we'd have to ask.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. It's just not clear in the local plan that.
Sorry.
Well, there is a brownfield register, Chair.
Okay.
And if a brownfield site would almost automatically qualify development under the current government rules, we would always put brownfield first. But if someone doesn't submit that brownfield site for any particular reason, then it's not given consideration.
Thanks very much for the question. I'm still going around. The gentleman next to you, do you have a question? No. Anybody else?
It was quite, and it was
I'll just come back round. I'll just take that gentleman. I'll come back round, please.
Pete Shepherd from Tottenham, been living there 30 years, not quite a local just yet. I'd like to know what you're going to do about the overdevelopment now. I know we all live in the City of England. What you're going to do about the overdevelopment locally and the impact that it's had to all our residents and the amount of traffic now coming through the village. Police cars coming through on absolutely every 10 minutes, 85 miles an hour have been clocked regularly coming through in the daytime. We've got horses, we've got tourists. I don't know what they're going to be looking at soon, just housing, I take it, from Dunstable Downs to where it's like London at night. So I'd like to know what you're going to do about all the traffic and the impact for the local community and the impact on their lives and well-being, because it doesn't seem to be taken into account at all.
So one of the considerations for suggesting that these sites don't go forward is to do with the extent to which Dunstable Town Council would say that without some additional infrastructure or considerable infrastructure, you know, these areas probably won't be sustainable without, you know, either better roads or more facilities locally. There might also be some issues to do with health and safety and so on. So these are sorts of considerations that councillors this evening will be looking at more broadly, as you suggest, and then specifically around some of the sites in question, which probably pose, because of the nature of the scale of what they're proposing, would definitely add to those challenges that we're already experiencing in Dunstable. So that would be definitely a focus for us.
Every week almost we're getting an accident and now deaths. And we've got one of the busiest junctions on the A505 junction there in the country, I believe. And every day there's an incident of some sort. I mean, when's this going to be, you know, addressed? And I know, and I've looked into it. And I was told only when there's development near that road would they look at that junction. Well, brilliant, you know, let's build another town on it so we can get some traffic lights. So I think this is not the answer, folks.
No, so highways consideration is definitely something that councillors will no doubt be commenting on in a moment. I'll go to that gentleman. I'll go to that gentleman first.
Martin McGee. It was just the question of sustainability in relation to the two sites, one off the avenue and then the field down, further down. It's just a question of how those two sites could possibly get onto the county plan, in view of the fact, if I may read the decision of 31 years ago, when there's a golf course was proposed just adjacent, just the other side of the Tring Road, just beneath the downs. The reason for refusal was this site lies below the scarp, Dunstable Downs. This adjacent ground is gently undulating and undeveloped and provides part of the setting of this typical children's landscape. The site's positioned at the foot of the escarpment and at the forefront of views across to the west, result in it being visually prominent and sensitive in terms of establishing the character of that landscape. The Downs are visited many thousands of visitors each year. Policies ensure that the high quality of this landscape is retained. Now, the Downs haven't changed, and the principles governing the county plan haven't changed as far as I can see. So in the light of that, how can those two sites possibly, with the damage it will do to the panoramas available to so many people, thousands of people, it's a country known beauty spot, and people go there. I mean, as a school teacher, I used to take GCSE students onto the Downs, and they filled in questionnaires. The two things they wanted to know was why people came and where they came from. And they came from a wide area of the London area, and they came solely because of the views. There's nothing else to entertain. These are timeless words. This is the county planning officer 31 years ago, but they are timeless words, surely, as relating to this proposal. That's really my question.
Thank you for that, and we will talk about that in detail. I think the councillors want to comment on all of this to begin with, or we'll get to that in a moment. No?
I think the main question you asked was how is it appearing in the plan? given those things you've said, which is a very good question. And I think my understanding is that the owners of the land in all of the whole system of call for sites, someone has owned that land and has proposed to Central Bedfordshire that it would be used. Not all the sites that have been proposed in the call for sites will be selected as sites for housing, and you cannot argue the case and say this is absolutely ridiculous, like Dunstable Downs is an SSSI. Like, we need to retain the amenity of the town and destroy it. And we can put that in as part of the consultation. And then when they come to select calls for sites, when they come to select the final sites, they scrub off the ones that aren't appropriate for the various reasons. So the reason it will be selected is because someone has said this is my land and you should build on it, because then the price will go up.
I can understand that, but I can't quite understand the criteria that the county plan would have in accepting that. The developer obviously wants to develop, but this has been, there's nothing changed over the years. The retaining of valuable landscape is constant, isn't it, in the view? So why would it suddenly be included?
I would say that it's not included yet, like within the final plan. So there is a time frame that you can see online, and this is the first real stage where there's consultation, and then it goes back and it's discussed by Central Bedfordshire Council, and then I think it goes through another round of consultations where the final plan is put together and then submitted to people. So technically it's not been included at the moment, it's just been included in the these are the people that have said we want to build land, like we want to use the land for housing.
Thanks for that. I know there's a gentleman over there that wants to ask a question. There's a comment and a further question. We're going to move on to this, but under the section 6 of the agenda today, what we will be looking at, just so that members of the public understand this, we will be looking at the effect of each site on highways, schools, healthcare, utilities, walking, cycling, public transport, green space, biodiversity, landscape character, existing communities, and the cumulative effect of the developments. So that is something that as councillors we're going to be looking at in a moment, in a bit more detail. So just to give some reassurance that that will be the nature of our feedback. So I think, have you got a comment on what's just been said? Because I know the gentleman over there.
Yeah, if it's helpful, Chair. Yeah. Matt's right. Matt Brennan is right that nothing's decided until the end of what might call something different now, the end of Regulation 19. Nothing's decided. The site you're talking about, sir, is in two parts. The one that's widely used by horse riders and has a semicircular path around it is immediately adjacent to the eastern edge, I think it is, of the avenue. The other field has currently been disregarded, Chairman. It's in Tottenham, actually, not in Dunstable, strangely.
Eaton Bray.
Eaton Bray.
It's classified.
The same ward to me,
Yeah.
the Eaton Bray ward, Peter,
Yeah.
Thank you. So currently disregarded, and the only site that currently is in play is the field immediately adjacent to the avenue. And just technical reasons, and I've told Peter this, and he would no doubt share it with your group, you are in reality bounded on two sides by development. And that would be one of the reasons that the site immediately adjacent to the avenue, Chairman, has not been disregarded, because the assessment of that site will be its contribution to the green belt. And as there's developments on Tring Road to the one side, the left facing east, that would reduce its impact on the green belt, and the development immediately next to it is the avenue, so it's bounded on two sides by development. And I went through that in detail with Peter the other day. But the main message, Chair, is, as far as I'm aware from the plans I have, the bigger field which would have taken the majority of houses is disregarded, And they're currently looking at just a 30 Peter immediately to the east of the avenue.
It's 303.
Do you need the code, the number you mean?
The number of houses, please.
Oh, sorry, at least 30
30.
was originally, but we think it probably a lot more than that.
And you wouldn't get many more big houses on that first site.
Yeah, the concern would be whether it's big houses, different houses. And what have
They're
you.
not obliged, Chairman, to provide either a contribution to affordable housing or provide affordable housing. So that would mean 30% of 30, 10% is 3, so that'd be 9 affordable.
Yeah, thanks for that.
That would be if it is finally
Agreed,
facilitated,
yeah,
Chairman.
thank you.
Sorry, before I come there,
Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah.
Waiting quite a while.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm Anthony, I live in Tottenham as well.
Yeah.
I just wondered if it's a coincidence that we've got 4 or 5 planning developments all at once, and we've got reservations with all of them, and it's all really the same sort of reservations. Is that a coincidence, or, you know, excuse my ignorance, but we seem to have 4 or 5 have arrived all at once. How has this happened?
Nobody's talking about application.
Yeah.
So you're talking about application.
Applications, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was listening to what Matt's explanation for that was, partially.
Yeah, I think
So-
it's, some of it's been answered already.
Yeah, so, but yes, noted, yeah. Sorry,
it's very quickly, common sense, you're going to start talking about the individual sites. Common sense tells me we should start with site 136303 so that most people here are representing or want to talk about that particular site, and then we could perhaps go, because we would sit through you talking through a lot of all the other sites. Could we not start with the one next to the avenue?
if everybody's in agreement with that, I'm happy to do that. Yep. Yeah. If you remind me of the numbers of it.
136303.
Okay, so have all members of the public asked the questions that they wanted to ask for the time being?
I think all I was going to say is more clarification on 136303, but if we're going to talk about it anyway, as a natural discussion, I'll leave it till then.
The problem is you might not be able to get an input
No.
once that discussion starts. I think this is the right time to ask the question and get.
Well, I think all I want to point out is the 136303, which is the field we're talking about, which is adjacent to the avenue Nigel discussed, and the one below, which is now out of that, which is 1365599, which is the field in Brain. There are several elements here. There is the element of sustainability and environmental impact, and also the views. And I know we discussed that, Nigel, the views may not be seen as important, but the views from the Downs, that's got to be the most important part of the most scenic area of Dunstable, and in fact Bedfordshire probably. That's one thing. There's the health and safety aspect, because the gliders, and I've spoken about gliders before, the gliding club fly directly over these fields. They do fail. Gliders do come down, and that is an emergency area for recovery. We've had in our road a house that has had a gliding cable land on the roof. So it is a high risk area. So to the point about filtering the sites, I cannot understand our CBC. If it did any form of risk assessment, they would have even allowed this to continue, because it makes no sense whatsoever. There's a health and safety impact, there's sustainability impact, and also we talk about Dunstable itself, green areas. This is right on the edge of Dunstable. So if you build on a green area on the edge of Dunstable, what is Dunstable? Just one big massive housing estate? Is that what we want? Do we not want a green area to be encompassed within the Dunstable, West Dunstable area? The impact is significant. Dunstable Downs and Chilterns are part of the national landscape. That line is actually on Tring Road, which is adjacent to both these sites. So therefore, if national landscape, part of that is views, then the view you'd be looking at is building, the building site, which doesn't make any sense either. There are also there are quite a few, what was that bird?
Horn buntings.
Horn buntings, which are very rare. there are badgers, there are all sorts of other wildlife in that little area. And the area is used significantly by horse riders, dog walkers, lots of different people. So it is a site that's very popular with the Dunstable people, particularly in that area, I guess. And even people come by car and actually walk around it specifically. So to the point about, yes, it's still not been agreed and it is still on the list. It makes no sense that in the original filtering, it wasn't taken out in the first place. And that's our worry. If it's not been taken out in the initial filtering, what does it take to take it out of the list? At what point is any common sense come through, particularly on the health and safety? Because even the gliding club themselves say that if these sites are built on, it will make a significant impact on them. They may even have to change the ways in which they fly, and that's been there for what, 80 years. It's a folly. It makes no sense, and that's something I think we need to get across. Because if that's not seen, because clearly by CBC it's not seen, you know, it doesn't make any sense. There you go. And also the other thing I pointed out on the website, on the site, when you zoom into it, is it looks like the road go around Phil. Well, it's not a road. It's actually trees. So people who see this, I don't know why it's not showing up there, but people who see that on the interactive map would say, well, do you know what? There's a road there already. Well, there isn't. It's a field.
The roads roads at the bottom of the road.
Yes. Yeah. Wellhead Road. So, you know, and the other bit about this is that this whole process is so disruptive to the community because this has been going on for quite some time now. And as I said earlier, at what point does this get taken out of this potential building? And at what point will it be taken out forever so that people can rest assured, though, that that site is not going to be built on? I'd like them points to go forward, and hopefully they'll get forward in some sort of, I don't know, some powerful way towards CBC that they can actually focus on this and make a sensible view on it. And all these points have been emailed to CBC, to Sean Farrier. And he doesn't come back or reply to say thank you very much, or, you know, we understand what you're saying. It goes in a dead, you know, in a dead pile somewhere, which I think is wrong, you know.
Well, I think I'm right in thinking that if Dunstable Town Council send our comments, they will be acknowledged. There'll be a formal acknowledgement of those.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's the crux. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to say there's some very specific points about this site, which the logic does not make any sense. If you want a risk assessment, I'll organise a risk assessment, show how much risk there is with flying over that site, how much risk to human life and also to property, which would be.
Thanks very much for your
Just one point he gentleman made that was remarked about what Peter and I, may I?
Yeah.
It's brief. The view I was talking about, Peter, was the view from your garden.
Yes.
Not the view from the downs of the field.
Yes.
Not the view, not the impact on the AONB and the Greenbelt.
Yes.
So I made that absolutely clear, and I gave you every pointer. Horses is good, birds is good, newts are wonderful.
We have all of those.
Yeah. I've given you every pointer, and I advised you to hire a planning expert.
Yes.
But I did not say that the view of the downs, the impact on the AONB, is a planning consideration. View from your garden is not a planning consideration.
And we're pointing out a view from the highest position in Bedfordshire, which if people had gone up there the other day when with eclipse, you couldn't get up there because the road was packed. When you go there every weekend, every day, in fact, there is a mass of people there because they love the place. If you build in an area where people view and all they can see is a building site, what does it say?
Yeah. Thank you for that contribution. Okay, is there any?
Got one more question.
I'm just going back to the gliders, and I'd ask that Central Bedfordshire consider talking to the Civil Aviation Authority as well as the Gliding Club about the safety around the flight and flight paths that they used. They've gone very close to the back to the back edge of the gardens along the avenue to maintain the direction of the flight, so that they can actually land in around on the escarpment and onto the field behind. You'd have to talk to them about how that would change if we tried to fly over more development.
Great, thank you. Any more general or specific points that anybody wants to make before we move into the detail?
Another one related to both the gliders and to the small downs. ANOV. The orientation of any houses in there to conform to the U shape it's kind of laid out would mean that when they have solar panels, which they will be obliged to have, they will be facing the Black Club. They will be facing the downs. Whereas anything in the avenue and beyond doesn't do that. Because the avenue is facing away from the downs. The houses and any solar panels are facing away from the downs. They're not facing the pilots as they take off. They were not actually pointing at the downs, which these ones would be.
Okay.
So that's a visual, you know, the glare when the sun comes up, because it comes up over the downs, it will bounce straight off of those solar panels.
Okay.
That might be a bigger impact than.
Thanks. Captured. Okay, just any more observations, questions, queries before we move on? And if there was anything, have we dealt with the questions that were submitted? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so dealt with that. Okay, well, thanks very much for those contributions. So I think the suggestion now is we look at some specifics. Before I do that, I'm just going to turn to my colleagues about, do we want to actually foreground some of the considerations in this paper before we get any of the specifics? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk to the paper also? Or are you going to talk to this paper or? Sorry?
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, that's good. I might just tell people that. Yeah. So apparently it is within my power as chair to waive the standing orders. If we get into the detail of the discussion, it will be possible to take a public question at that point. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, so I think the advice is it would be good for me just to remind people what's in the consultation paper. I've done a bit of that as we've gone along, but let's just do that. So the purpose of the report, which is what councillors received, I think this is available to the public as well, isn't it? Yeah, so some of you may well have seen this already. So the purpose of the report that was provided with us for us today is to consider the council's response to Central Bedfordshire Council's submitted sites consultation for the new Central Bedfordshire local plan. So I think we probably all understood that, but just for clarity and anybody who's listening. Members are asked to agree the council's consultation response to each site listed in the Central Bedfordshire Council submitted sites consultation. Members are asked to authorise the Head of Corporate Services and RFO. You? To submit the agreed response immediately after the meeting. So we may not be here till midnight. Right. So Central Bedfordshire Council is preparing a new local plan. As part of that process, CBC undertook a call for sites exercise, inviting landowners, developers and others to identify land they may have potential for future development. CBC has also identified additional sites itself for consideration. CBC has stated that the submission of a site does not mean it will be allocated for development, nor that any decision has been taken regarding its future use. All sites will be assessed against planning, environmental and infrastructure considerations before any decisions are made. The consultation gives residents, businesses, councils and other stakeholders an opportunity to comment on submitted sites and identify local issues, opportunities and preferences. CBC has confirmed that this is separate from the planning application process. The consultation closes on the 17th of August, today. The committee meeting is therefore the final opportunity for the Town Council to agree a corporate response before the deadline. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the specifics, and we'll start with the particular proposal that was recommended.
13603.
And just to remind everybody that the matters for consideration is CBC is seeking local views on the submitted sites, not comments on detailed development proposals.
Mhm.
For each site, members are asked to decide whether to object to, and if so, whether the objection relates to planning considerations, local knowledge, infrastructure needs, environmental impacts, or community priorities, or maybe a combination of those. And as I've said, under 6.2, members may wish to consider the effect of each site on highways, schools, healthcare, utilities, walking, cycling, public transport, green space, biodiversity, landscape character, existing communities and the cumulative impact of development across Dunstable, Houghton Regis and surrounding settlements. Members may also wish to consider, and we should, in my view as chair, whether brownfield redevelopment should be prioritised before greenfield development and whether any site should be preferred should further allocations prove necessary. We've said this is an early stage of the consultation process. I think that's probably all I'll say for the time being. Is there any questions from councillors at this stage? Or comments, observations?
No, Chair. I think we can get into the particular.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we are going to start with 136303. Is that the right reference?
Yeah.
So can we, is it possible to share that so we all know what we're talking about? Is it easy to do that or not?
Yeah,
Not worried.
hang on.
Order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get that.
So is it this one?
No,
Yeah, it's this one. Thank you.
Although,
Yeah.
would it be worth talking about both at the same time, the adjacent one to it as well?
No, I think we shouldn't get confused. Can we focus on this particular one? Just to make sure the members of the public can be clear as to where councillors stand.
Yeah, the recommendation was to do this one first, so I will go with that for the time being. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chair, I mean, Paul, when you say the adjacent one, you mean the one that's technically in Tottenham
Yeah.
Harris? But I thought someone said it had already been disregarded. I could be wrong.
I think that was mentioned.
Did you say it was?
Because there's no talking about it if it's been disregarded.
It has on my map been disregarded,
Right,
but if
okay.
you're objecting to it, Sir and Sheila, you carry on.
Well, I mean, the best way, the way I would see it is I would say all the issues pertaining to this plot, which is in Dunstable, would apply equally to this potentially disregarded. Because I mean, they are adjacent geographically. They present the same issues.
Let's just see.
Sorry.
That's not true. The other field isn't used, it's just farmed, so they're very.
No, I agree with that, but I think in terms of some of the, yeah, you're quite right, but I think it's only in terms of the major things, which is the aesthetic one, the nature impact, and that's where I see the commonality.
It's not used, but so I wanted to ask another thing. If it has been disregarded, why?
I don't think we know the answer.
We don't know the answer.
What I suggest we do is stick to the plan we had, which is let's look at this particular proposal and gather the feedback, and then we'll move on to the next one after that. The adjacent one, the so-called adjacent one. Okay, so we all know what we're looking at now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. this is not a brownfield site, this is a greenfield site.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry. Apologies. If we could not have talking as we, because it's recorded and open to the public, so it'll get very difficult for them to understand in the recording as well. Okay, so let's start with the proposal then, which is 136303. And the considerations here are, as I've said, about the impact of this on infrastructure, aesthetics, and so on. So should we start with councillors first and then?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is north.
Okay.
West, it's under west.
Absolutely, yeah.
Councillor Richard Atwell.
Yeah, councillor Richard. Again, I take on board all the points you said. As I said, this is I'm a West Ward councillor, so you know very well my feelings on this. We've had discussions before. I do see the actual points from it. At the end of the day, this is area of outstanding natural beauty. It is part of the dams. Aesthetically, as you say, it's one way of looking at it from back gardens. However, this is a national treasure as part of our countryside is concerned. People will come here from far and wide to actually see the views across 6 counties or whatever. So if you start to build on that sort of land, you're taking away all the beauty of the beauty spot itself and everything else, and all of the pull it has for visitors to come and see that, which is the whole point of what I know in the first place. My view is with all of these actually is without doubt we need to look at all the brownfield sites. I want to have categorically to know that all the brownfield sites have been looked at and either discarded or said that they can be part of the planning or the process before we even start to look at these sites. I mean, this would surely be what I should look at from common sense anyway. But from the area it is and for the outlook and the green space, both from not only from the residents' point of view, but from higher up on the point and looking down, it's for the whole aesthetics for the whole area. So like you, I'm not party to the information about how this has ever passed the test of they've met the thresholds to even be considered. I'm surprised it even has. When we look at the wider area of Bedfordshire, and don't get me wrong, I know people, everyone needs places to live. We all need houses to live in. And this isn't about NIMBYism. It's not a case of not meant backyard, things like that. However, there has to be some common sense regarding what will we build and what types of green land we build on. And this to me is kind of ridiculous to be considering it. I completely agree with you. How it's come to be that it's actually highlighted, as I say, I think there's a rationale behind it in fairness, where Central Bedford just looked at everything and said, look, let's look at every piece of plot of land that there is, and then we'll make an initial decision. So, but you would have thought that there would have been a sensibility check on the thresholds to say that that's definitely out, or this is definitely before you even come to this point. I don't know, I can't comment on how that's been got to that area, but certainly as far as this, I'm completely with the residents on this one, and not just for that, but for Dunstable as well. Because Dunstable should be a green town. It had lots of biodiversity. We're absolutely on top of the list of biodiversity. The last thing we want to do is to start destroying that. That's my point of view.
Yeah, Chair. I mean, yeah, I think interestingly with all the issues with this site, which I agree with Councillor Atwell should have been disregarded before we even got to the point today, has already been made. So without going all over the ground, I would have thought anything pertaining, firstly, to an extension of the current Dunstable boundary, which was what this would do. I know the suggestion was that because it's bounded on a couple of sides, I think gave it a qualification, but that doesn't mean you add another 2 sides to it. But I just think that anything in the environ of Dunstable Downs, either physically or sort of observationally, should just be disregarded. It's just not appropriate. I mean, the biodiversity thing is very interesting. I mean, I am an avid bird watcher. I was interested to hear some mates of corn buntings. And I walk the downs probably 6 out of 7 days. And so I know what the eye line would be as a result of this development. It would be, and again, I think the trouble is once you say, you know, you lose up the other two lines, you keep having this patchwork justification for that perennial extension of the town's boundaries. I think the other points, economic infrastructure wise, I think they're equally valid, but I think there is something so particular, so unique and so special to this area about the Dunstable Downs that actually the aesthetic one does top any other consideration in this instance. That's, yeah, and so this is part of my ward in West Dunstable, but if I wasn't a councillor, I would be sitting on one of those seats today. So yeah, that's it. I feel very strongly about this personally, not just as a representative of the ward that it'll affect.
Thank you. Any other? This one of councillors?
Sorry.
Chair, I was just going to concur with everything that Councillor just said, and also take a moment of personal privilege to thank the resident for speaking up. I think, you know, we love this town, and you've done a noble thing to come out here and speak up for what you believe and what this is about. I do think there's a clear objection from me, you know, councillor that's spoken, that this should not be considered at all for many reasons. And residents have made a point very clearly in terms of the wildlife that will be disturbed. We as a country, we are very strong. And when as planners, I've dealt with planning before many times, and that issues, anything to do with wildlife, they would not allow you to build anything. So the main fact that they've considered this and put it in the plan, knowing that you have natural beauty as well as the landscape, as well as, you know, the wildlife around the area. I think it's really difficult to sort of justify. In any case, it's just an issue of, can we consider this? Is it possible to consider? But we're saying we object. This is not a place that we want to build on. And I think we just need to put our point across to the planner that we would not allow them to consider this as a place to build.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to concur with those bits on the
Councillor.
yeah. Yeah, Dunstable Downs, it's, as the gentleman pointed out, thousands of visitors come to this site to see the views from that area. And we don't wish to spoil that with further building right underneath it. Point on the health and safety aspects as well, should be noted from the flying club as well. Obviously very close proximity to flight paths, gliders as well as hang gliders as well, which I think use that far end more for launching from. So that gives it a safety factor. Still having free area to land there if need be, if you get into trouble. So I think they're very key factors which would damage the town's reputation, I think, if that plot was built on. So.
Is any that? Sorry, Councillor Brent.
Okay, I added that to the task list.
Brilliant.
That's good. So what's not there is, sorry.
So I want to just like bring it back to 6. We need to know whether the objection relates to planning considerations, local knowledge, infrastructure needs, environmental impacts, or community priorities. I think we know that it's not so much planning considerations, it's local knowledge, certainly environmental impacts.
Yeah.
With the birds, community priorities. Also, there would be, given the size of that site, there would be a significant impact on highways. Having driven down that road every morning for many years, all it takes is like the slightest thing on that road and it can be a complete nightmare. I think green space is greenbelt land, and it's immediately adjacent to the Chiltern Hills. AONB, AONB. I had it. AONB. Area of.
That's fine.
Thank you very much. So, I think those points that we should put down, I think we need to be 100% on why we're objecting to it.
Mhm.
Utilities possibly be an issue, especially biodiversity. I assume it's used. What, if anyone could tell me why there's like a walking path with trees, right? Or is it used as green space by people like to walk around? It looks like it's
100%. Yeah. Once a week from top of the house, when I go up down, I can see people walking there on my way back.
So it's loss of amenity as well. Like,
I think it probably just about touches every consideration
really
that
everything.
is here.
Can I elaborate on that outside of, and I mean, yeah, so there's horse riders, they can from Tottenham go all the way up through the fields around that area there, and they also go back round. There's ramblers, there's dog walkers continue to use it, so it's used extensively.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just the aerial photograph of that area, you can actually see quite clearly. Everybody walks to see it now.
I was just going to say,
So like Google Maps, you can see where it's extensively.
it's in terms of walking. Yes, if anything, we'd obviously be registered as a green space.
That is actually what my question was earlier, is that we were trying to do that.
Some areas have been noted as green spaces anyway on the plans for other sites, which we've been across.
Okay, so I'm just reflecting back because Lisa's got the job of summarising this and getting it back. So I do think it covers all the things that we talked about in section 6. There's lots of different examples. There also, I'm going to just attempt to summarise with Councillor Sally in a moment that it feels like there's a consensus around the table that everything we've just talked about, we all support the reasons for why we should object to this. Sally, so Councillor Campbell.
I agree with everyone, and I think what has been touched on before was the landscape and character, so the potential negative impact of the landscape setting of our town. It's very different, it's special, and that's why people like it. So lavish. So I think that also impacts on the views. I know that's like I said, but the views are not important, but they are for us, especially the national. The views when you're talking about from your house.
You said
my house.
From his house, yes.
I think she meant in terms of the criteria, not the
criteria, yeah.
No, Chairman, this is getting silly. Nobody says it's not important. I say it's not a planning consideration.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's very, very different.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
And it was
For that, yes.
the landscape is important.
Yeah, I understood what you meant. I think I just misunderstand.
I'm sorry
That's
that
fine.
your members
Yeah,
are
that's fine.
misunderstanding me.
Sunny.
I did apologize for that, yes.
No,
I think it was about the potential negative of the town setting.
Thank you. I'm just want to check that, is there a formal recognition of biodiversity that we're missing here as well when we feedback? Because this seems to be quite an important element in terms of the planning considerations. So just checking whether we're not missing anything important around the biodiversity issue.
Well, if it would be helpful, I wasn't aware of this site until this discussion came forward, so I went to visit it. And on the plan that you showed a minute ago, Councillor, it looks like originally it was laid out as a formal open space. But it's clear to me when I went to visit it, been managed very much for biodiversity in more recent years. And it does look like a site that is particularly biodiverse. But councillors might also want to consider that it's being used as part of Dunstable's green infrastructure network, and people are using it as a route to get from the town through green space up onto and into the countryside at Dunstable Downs. So I think it's a high value site in terms of the way the local community are making use of it.
I think that's a really important point, and we should add that if we to the feedback, because I think that would be of significant value to let CBC know.
I was just going to say, I fully agree with everything that's been said tonight, and I think we've all discussed it, and I think we should move to the vote, and I propose that we reject it.
Yeah, I agree. So, as a proposal,
You'd have to move the Dunstable sign, like if it's it's at a different border, so you'd have to move it back.
Yeah, good point, mate. I think what we need to do is just clarify the decision that we are going to submit.
yeah. So, to clarify, we are objecting to the proposal for this to be considered as a residential site. I think we're all in agreement of that.
Yes.
We've also rehearsed the reasons why, which covers pretty much everything that was suggested we consider. And I think particularly the biodiversity and the high value that the community's already placed on this. And actually, it is really important to Dunstable, but also, as everybody's talked about, it is a resource that's valued across the county, or counties, should I say. So it's got a much wider value than even Dunstable, but it's really important to us. So I'm just going to ask for those in favour of objecting to this, can you all raise your hands? I will vote here, so that's unanimous. There's no abstentions and no. Yeah, okay, so for those who, sorry.
So I know it's a consultation, sorry, Chair. If we object, because sometimes we object and then they come back with a different plan, or the position, or we're just on consultation.
It is a consultation. They could override the plan if they so wish, but I don't think they will. Just, Chair, would you allow me to just say something more? Every resident that could have actually submit your direct comment to CBC on the planning. I think that as long as there's many voices on there saying the same thing, they would not go against it.
Yeah, thank you, that's really helpful. So for those who wanted to have the opportunity to leave after that discussion, you're welcome to do that if you choose to. I'll just give you a moment to do that if you like, so we carry on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Gentleman here, excuse me, sorry. Oh, I think.
Let me get it.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
You stand big wish.
So this is the aside, let's say you've got, let's say you've got a very big on the table, you're a 500k policy plan, and you say who wants to go for a walk? Only 50 people.
No, that's my rule.
Discounted for people. This is the first stage.
What do you?
Okay, so this is like an actual. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Everybody.
He came to see.
Okay, so. The adjacent site that we're looking at next, I think. Is it one over the page?
Well, should we start at the top at 135,286?
If we want to, if we think there's similar things we can say about the adjacent site, because that makes it.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
just do the adjacent site, because I think
21826.
Yeah.
numbers go.
Agenda 218.
This one is, no, it's not.
It's only 5.2. Sorry,
Well, it's top now.
Oh, they're on,
Yeah.
it's right at the bottom.
So it's the last one on your
Yeah.
paper.
Right, right.
Last one further down.
Yeah.
Jason, what?
This one's no. The last
And
one.
that one.
The small.
That's
The
it.
numbers are yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like as per the above.
Exactly.
That was my view. That was my view.
I mean,
It'd be straightforward to.
Struggling to think of a single scenario, Chair, where you would go, I really don't like the last one, but I think this is.
This one's extra. Isn't it? Let's further down the road.
Really good idea.
Especially if having a gap in the middle, it would be.
Yeah, even better.
So when it started. Councillor Nick. Before in.
Yeah. So I'm suggesting therefore that all the reasons that we gave
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
objecting to the previous one would be agreed now, or not, as the case may be. So I propose then that we object to this proposal for all the reasons
Yeah.
that we said for the last one.
Yes.
All those in favour? It's unanimous too.
Just toss them in.
Yes. Then we can go back. I think, Paul, you were suggesting back to the beginning, so to speak.
Yeah, if that works for people.
Yeah.
Happy with that? Yeah.
So that's 135286.
Is this a brown site?
Yes, it looks like it, but let's just
Yeah.
get some. So I know that there is it a Sea Cadets and another building right next to this one, isn't there? And a car park. So is this?
Yeah, car sale,
Yeah.
car dealership, yeah.
Yeah,
Brown site.
yeah. So this is a brown site.
Well, thank you, Chair. I do have, on the first two sites we've discussed, I think it's important to be clear about green space, landscape, and the things that protect biodiversity, if you will. But also do have the other side, which we have to consider carefully as resident of this town. And is that many people in this room would have children, they would have grown-ups that would like to live on one day. I no longer want to stay with that. I'm gonna need to move out. They need a place to live. So some of this conversation we have to have with a little bit of a caveat. You know, there are sites, there are brown space that does needs to be built on because it's important to have. We need more housing, whether we like it, yes or no, these are facts. Okay, so sometimes I think, you know, we sort of do object to, I don't want new building in the back of my house, which I can understand because it's in the back of your house. But the reality is, if it's not directly impacting sunlight to your bedroom and some caveat around how the building is being developed, I think we need to consider having more building. So I will take the, in terms of ensuring that we have the right infrastructure for this new building, needs to be considered carefully. But at this point, all we're considering is this site appropriate for new building, not, you know, this is not a planning permission. Is this site, you know, the right place for us to build on? So on this brown site, there's been proposed, whether it's been proposed from the developer or it's been proposed from the council, I think we need to carefully think, do we need more housing? Do we need, if, you know, one of the arguments I've been thinking about this is when we think, I look on Facebook, people will say, oh, the high street is not vibrant, the high street is not this. The reality is, for you to have a vibrant high street, you need density of population. Okay, because you need the people to serve, you know, to go into this high street and spend their money on the high street. If we need a vibrant town, you need more people. This is a kind of argument that we don't tend to consider. So I will propose to us that we need to think about this. As long as it's a brownfield space, we need to consider some of these places needs to be built and we need more housing because some of our children are going to live home and they're going to need somewhere to live. So I would table that as something to consider while we have the discussion. I am not totally against us having more building in the town centre. If it's a brown site and it's, you know, they're not taking away our park to make it happen. I think we're lucky in Dunstable, Sheriff. Because when we talk about infrastructure, doctor, GP, we've just built a hub, right? So we do have some of this infrastructure already in place. Where we have problem is our we deal with the highway issue, parking issue. Those are the kind of stuff that we think we need to discuss a little bit more in detail and see how we can navigate those terrain. But in terms of having new building, I think new buildings are necessary for, you know, for the success of the town.
Thank you. Councillor Kwiatkowski?
Okay, obviously this site has had a development proposed for it before, which was initially turned down because of the plans proposed in the way it overlooked the business behind it. I think quite right, councillor, that if we have got a brown site, it can be developed properly and the right plans for the area, then that should be possible. And I think that's what this one comes down to, that yes, a brown site. If the workshops aren't being used, which I think is what is currently there, this plan, if they're not being used, then if it can be developed for town housing of some sort, which blends in correctly, then I think that's a legitimate reason to develop the site.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Ed?
Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, as it says in the agenda notes, you know, our remit this evening is not to discuss the nature of any proposed development per se,
Yeah.
only the footprint. And I think equally, there is, you know, it's incumbent on us, there is a corollary that if we feel really strongly about certain plots that we are going to fight tooth and nail to avoid, then we do have to be realistic about those plots that have much more opportunity and much more in keeping with the development needs. It's already within, as such, within the footprint of the town, sets like back of West Street. So you've already got existing utilities running parallel, adjacent, whatever. I don't see, as I say, as long as the ultimate use and residential proposals are okay and fair, then in terms of the footprint, I don't have any objection.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any other comments before we?
Sorry, I was just going to build on what's already been said. I agree that we do need to obviously have certain sites that we can build upon. And I think that the other consideration, without repeating what's already been said, which I agree with, is you look at the size, it's 0.05%, 0.05 hectares. So it's a very, very small site. So when we're talking about the impacts, highways or impacts as in facilities, doctors and things like that, this is minuscule compared to any developments that we've seen, other developments that we've just looked at. So I do think this is again, what we said before, it's not against housing, it's having it in the right area, the right place and the right size. And I don't think this would overwhelm anything. So in my view, I think it would be a sense one to look at least.
Is there any contrary views to that? Or that's it. Sounds like we're supportive of that. So I'll take a vote on this proposal, please. So those who support the consideration of this brown site for potential development. It's like unanimous on that as well. Lisa, do you want anything else for us on that one? No. Okay. So the next one is 135338. Which
yes. So
Dunstable
North. So Chair, this site, I understand that, correct me, Councillor Brennan, if I said it's wrong, it used to be a school.
Yes, it used to be Beresfield School.
Right, so this site used to be, I believe it's been sitting on there for the last possibly 10 years or more.
Yeah, it has. We actually, in order to have the new ATP pitch fitted at Creasy Park.
Yes.
They had
remember
to
this.
ask for permission from the Secretary of State
Yeah.
to use the land
Yeah,
for something other than school, and now
come
they,
up to that 10 years long.
now they obviously have permission to use the rest of it as housing.
Yeah, so I was actually waiting, Chair, to see whether or not when the 10 years mark comes on hand, this is going to be returned back to some kind of educational center to be used as a school if, if we do need more school, but I do know that we've just built a school in Regis. So there's few infrastructure in terms of, schools in the local area. I am not totally against this site being developed for housing. Like I said, the infrastructure in terms of the way the site is set out, there are already buildings in the area. It's not like the Dunstable Downs. I strongly believe that, we do need more housing, as long as the infrastructure to accompany the developments are there. I think this is a reasonable site. You've got the tennis court, you've got, the play area, and those have not been taken away. So I do think that there's an opportunity here to have more houses built in the local area, and I will not object to it.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan?
So I would disagree actually, just because, first of all, Dunstable North has got the greatest population density in all of Central Bedfordshire. We, in my opinion, have enough housing in Dunstable North. I think we've lost the possibility of retaining the land at Watling House, which has now been made more housing, or is in the process of being made more housing. Not just a year ago, the land was potentially being given to, not given to, but was in talks with Weatherfield School to build an SEMH provision within that land. In Dunstable North, we're in desperate need of local amenity. There is no real access to the site through Old Banks and Campion Close. Not only that, but at the back of it, the Green Lanes is frequently used already for like antisocial behaviour, which try and cut down on. Right next to a massive football pitch, which you can hear from my house, which is considerably further away. I think the area is right next to a playing area, and that should be used as local amenity. It should be used as Greenland, or it should be incorporated within Creasy Park to increase the provision within the area for local sports facilities. So I would really like us to object to the land being used for residential.
Councillor?
My concern is if you've got all that, there's no access onto the A5 for any housing. So all the houses that are built on that are going to have to come all the way through the housing estate, which to me would be detrimental to the people that live in there. It would make coming out of that area even worse than it is now. Whereas if it's carried on as amenities, I think that would be much better.
Anybody else? Sorry, Councillor Tasman.
Yeah, it's looking in the plan, I think. Access is going to be the toughest thing, is that the only way we could do it would be to come into the field above it. and join in with French's Avenue. We were to develop that site.
Yeah, but that would even cause more problems in French's Avenue.
That's from French's Avenue.
Yeah, anyway,
So
you,
access is very difficult.
anywhere you go, French Avenue is terrible, like traffic wise, and Brewers Hill can be absolutely terrible in the morning. The impact on highways would be bad.
What did you say about the schools that wanted to use it for something? You used them.
They were for
Weatherfield was
like, so Weatherfield was going to create a specific post-16 SEMH, which is social, environmental, no, social, emotional, mental health. It's, yeah, so it's like, it's special educational needs and disabilities provision.
Like a SEND school.
Yes, it's SEND school.
You see, unless we know that that is in, I mean, I'm sure that everyone around here would just object straight away. We knew it was set up for a SEND school, but we don't have that information, do we? We don't know.
No,
we don't know where we stand with it because we don't know what's really planned.
So it was, but they've just, like, for some reason, they've just dropped it and gone, oh, we don't want to do that anymore.
So was the access to the school to all banks?
Yeah.
And that one single carriageway road.
It's sort of so narrow going into it, yeah.
Well, there's another entrance, isn't it? The other way, Cambria and whatever. But again, for the
Yeah, that can,
yeah,
yeah.
If any of us lived on that road, I don't think we'd be very particularly chuffed at this proposal.
It sounds like from what has been said, that although the issue in principle we support in terms of using brownfield sites, for this particular location, the access issues and the kind of intensity of the build makes this particular suggestion from what people have suggested.
Chair, in my opinion, I mean, I think the site in principle is okay, but the issue at this stage for me is the access, the impact on pre-existing residents. I quite take what Councillor Brand said about an alternative proposed use, but as Councillor Axwell said, we haven't got any knowledge of that. So I think kind of at this stage, it's kind of, well, if you can come back to me and make a good pitch, then potentially, but as it stands at the moment, I don't see how just marking out a chunk of land in its current environment kind of works right now.
Yeah, check. Can I just make a point about, it's not my job to justify whether this site is fit for purpose or not. But our view is to look around there and say, is there a possibility that this might work or not? And give our, 2% sentiment. But what Highway does, what the planners does, is to figure out yes or no, with the infrastructure, with the road leading to the property, with all of that logistic, work together to allow any development in this piece of land. That's their job. So we can look at the site and say, in actual fact, you can open up a little bit more access to this side because you've got a piece of a good, I mean, on the drawing it looks small, but this is not a small site in terms of, whether or not you can have good access for vehicles coming in and out of this site. We've seen the juicing site, this land is much bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, my take is if the council is not going to build on it for school, which they're not going to do, because it means they're investing money, which they don't have to invest. And they've tried that and they've said no because they cannot afford to do it. And I believe they've actually opened the same special needs school somewhere else. Maybe they've developed part of the current sites for special need. All sense.
It's on Beach Road.
Beach Road. So they've actually done, because I've seen that. No, but I know they've done something about what they were trying to propose for this site.
Mm.
So that problem has been solved. Not that we don't need more, because I do know there are, still conversation about there's not enough space for young people that need special needs school. However, as it related to what's in front of us, I don't think this site used to be a school, which means there are vehicles that used to go in and out of this site. Okay, so it's not totally been cut off from the infrastructure that allows vehicles to go in and out. So
I think
it's the amount of vehicles with a school. You're not getting the amount of vehicles that you would if it's another housing estate. It's right bang in the middle of a housing estate, which is going to have, say you build 200, 300 houses on it, you're going to have maybe 2-3 cars per house, which are coming in to one tiny access on that road. So I can't see that it's actually
schools don't operate 7 days
a week.
65.
No, and they're on you have the school, you have 6 weeks where there's nobody going in or out. I would say the access, the highway side of it is why we should reject it.
Okay, so I think we're clear, the people that have spoken, that although we're in principle in agreement with brown site development, the access issues here make us believe that we should object to it. I'm conscious that we're going to need to, unless we have special permission, we've got until 9:30. So we just need to get through the other proposals. Is there any other further comments before we take a vote?
We've got to decide whether the proposed use, obviously saying is residential, so we can only going to buy that, and at the moment, I would be against this being residential for the access.
All right, so I think there seems to be consensus around that. So I'll ask everybody to take a vote on whether we object for the reasons we've said, which is issues to do in particular with consideration for access for a residential development. So those in favour of objecting it for that reason.
I would abstain.
Okay, so we've got 6 votes in favour and 2 abstentions, including me.
Okay, hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
You okay if I leave, please?
Yeah.
I didn't want to disrupt you.
Yeah, no,
Thank you very
okay.
much. Thank you very much for allowing us to come.
Yeah,
Thanks
you're
very
very
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we are now moving to 136351. Is that right? The
Yeah.
one in French's.
French's Avenue.
Yeah.
Take it on there.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
thanks very
if I remember, this one is that car park and an industrial site just before you get into the green lanes. Am I right in thinking that's where it? Sorry.
For the same reason,
Yeah.
we maybe talk about the Tottenham side, so that when we can leave and go to do what we need. The Tottenham one and the 5, we discussed
done
that.
Done that.
Yeah.
The same reason.
We,
the first
yeah,
one.
we agreed the objections would be heard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you
So if you want to go, you can go now.
That's okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks for letting us.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks very much for coming and contributing.
Thank you.
It's been really valuable. Thank you.
It's probably a bit quicker than. No, thanks. I wasn't sure we had. Right, good to see you.
You're staying.
Oh, yeah, it's all the same. It's all the
Thank you very much.
We get flight up in there, so Amsterdam, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was actually. Yes, that's really helpful. So the aerial pictures are as I thought it was. So is that in industrious car park and
Yeah.
Which one is that one? Is that in French's Avenue? Yeah.
something somebody a bit further on, they wanted to change the usage, wasn't it, into a
Yeah.
cafe and
Wash,
gym
wasn't
and
it?
whatever.
And we objected to the jet wash and residents late night having
Anyway,
yeah.
so for this one, I mean, so it's a relatively small site, so
Yeah.
in theory it would be possible to build something there because it's
Yeah.
immediately adjacent to other building. So
Good accent.
a good access.
And it's
So
very small.
yeah, so I don't see any objection for.
Is that the one in French's Avenue?
Yeah.
Right, that's so.
It's not triangle on the
Yeah.
traffic lights.
It's right at the top and on a.
Yeah, I do know where it
I
is.
love it, that's the.
One of
But do you want to comment before?
Yeah,
we move to the vote?
I was gonna make a comment. One of the issues that I think that we have with French's Avenue is the main road in the morning, obviously it's really busy cars coming out. I think there can be another road going towards Chrissy Park. I don't know if there's a part where you come to the bottom of French's Avenue and you turn right. I'm sorry, turn left towards Chrissy Park. If they could make that, possibly a one-way road because it's not wide enough. But at the same time, you have to think about the cyclists, the walking, people that use this, as a shortcut to go to Chrissy Park and Bruce Hill. But I do think French's Avenue.
The size of this plot
Yeah.
is not going to add
Yeah.
anything substantial to it. It's a very.
I just wanted to check how many things this should.
Yeah, exactly. I don't.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. No, I'm not objecting
You
to
have a
that.
regress footprint because of the car park.
Yeah, so should we take a vote?
Yes, I'm
on this one?
in.
So those in favour of considering this for residential?
Yeah.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. That leaves us, if I'm right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've already dealt with the last of the residential because that was the other Tottenham one, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's the standalone green space that's left, 13649.
Well, we've got that, and I think, sorry, Chair, we've got one in Dunstall South, Chair, as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
We've
right.
got 136 at Soto, should have been on here, Dunstall Central. The Menmore, President, or the Menmore
Yeah,
green space anyway,
off the Lower Road, yeah.
which that's, I take it standalone green space for Menmore. we're happy.
Yeah, should we just formally agree that?
Yes.
So all those in favour of preserving the standalone green space, can we just vote on that? Councillor Tamara,
Which one is this one?
this is the preserving the green space.
26. or-
Green space, remember?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
649.
right.
Again,
Unanimously supported that
so-
one.
Just so for you, Lisa, talking to Nigel, I don't know how that's been put forward again, it's Richard as an AONB site, so it should, again, we don't know the full scale of, is it just being flagged as for green space just for the sake of it, but it would never be.
That reminds me, actually, was there an issue to do with whether it was an accurate drawing because it's not all?
Yeah, that's just down to the line here, that's the fence line,
Okay,
but they've done it incorrectly there, but as for the actual site, it's relevant to,
okay.
yeah, it's.
So what-
it goes with it, yeah.
Who owns it or manage it? CBC or Stan Company?
CBC, I believe, at least it's in the farmer.
It's an agricultural field at the moment.
So it's owned by somebody,
Yeah.
which means they might put it forward. Whoever owns that land.
Yeah,
But it's green space. at the moment.
and it's registered AONB, so.
Yes, but if you own a green space or whatever.
Yeah,
farmland,
it is, yeah.
It's yours.
Okay, so we're on the last one. So we're on 136602, which is, it looks like this for those that are looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll vote for this one.
Yes, Councillor
That's in my-
Tarski, would you like
This is
to?
my ward. And the vendors. of course.
Yeah, I agree with
Um,
everything.
There was an original plan came in over a year ago when it was packed more than tonight with residents because they wanted to put flats on here up to 4 stories.
Yeah, I believe it.
With bins and car parking adjacent to the residents, which are mainly elderly bungalows. Or bungalows for elderly people in the Sunderland Avenue area. Big problem here is it's also surrounded by employment areas on both sides. So one, it's going to take away employment opportunities for the town, which are limited as it is.
How would I do that, sorry?
Because currently these are working businesses.
But if the
They're
business,
not empty.
okay,
They're
but if the
working
business is
business,
like closing down,
Well,
well,
people are going to lose their job. No, so they're renting at the moment. So
Okay.
their leases would be terminated and they have to move out. They'll lose jobs. Again, dependent on the, if this goes ahead as a large development, it's going to put more problems on the town's sewage system. This is at the top of the hill, so it's all going to flow down into the town centre again. There's going to be issues around the sewage facilities available to the site. Into possibly more flooding in town. So, and obviously a main objection by the residents. We've also had issues with the Part Exchange garage there, which has already received complaints from residents in Halfland Lane because of the unsocial hours that becomes working, and the CVC are doing input about. So you've been putting residents straight into a hotspot of industrial noise and nuisance, not making it suitable for residents, you know, basically moving their new housing. If they still want to go into residential, then the residences should blend in with the local area. So bungalows or two-story house, standard housing. So it blends in, doesn't create too big an issue on the sewer system or the actual nature of the environment in the area. So it should blend in with current housing outside and in their own.
So if, without putting words in your mouth, but making sure I've understood, so in principle, you're not against considering it for residential, it's the nature of the residential. Yeah, okay, that's really helpful.
Ideally though, because of the loss of employment, that it shouldn't really be considered residential anyway, should remain, that whole block is.
So it leaves some industry and work, but it would change the nature of some of it to residential from business.
Which doesn't make sense to squeeze in residential in between all of the businesses.
Plus, I think you've got the traffic issue again, haven't you?
Yeah,
really?
coming out
onto the A5,
Yeah,
you've got the highways issue again.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I don't think that's correct, because if you look at the plan there, what's outlined in red, it includes the industrial areas that are currently occupied. Yeah, they're not talking about squeezing them in between the buildings.
No, but you've got the garage here,
Yeah,
and then there's more garages.
there's a few houses, but these are operating businesses at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. So what are the jobs?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's the first.
if it's a brownfield site and it's not doing anything, it's wasteland.
It's not
then,
brownfield.
yeah. But if it's got businesses there, again, I can't understand why it would be considered if you're going to shut down a business to build houses. That would, it doesn't make sense.
So it's not necessarily the business that have suggested, it's the owners of the
owners of the land.
that have suggested it.
Events.
Okay, any other comments about this
It's
proposal?
the highways issue.
Yeah.
So in principle then, in principle, what options do we have on this?
I think
Is it
initially
is it-
we need to go to reject this first, and then if they come back and say it's still going to be there, then we'd have to tackle that at a later date.
Yeah, okay, on that basis then. So we reject it on the basis of the.
But I think lots of need to point out that these businesses are currently occupied and working businesses.
Viable business.
So viable businesses, so would impact employment in the town.
So, yeah, that's the thing. So, yeah, I think that the brownfield is brown. This is active brownfield. What we're looking for is inactive brownfield. But I think again, as this is a long-term plan, 2050, whatever, should that ever be vacated by the tenants and then not relet, then I think the proposal can be reviewed again.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just that in the exact present circumstances.
So on that last one then, a vote then please that we propose
So did
to.
you say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think members are missing an understanding. This is not a planning permission. This is a local plan. This might never get built.
This is suitability though.
Yeah.
Is the suitability.
Yeah, and that's
Okay, so the idea that we do currently have a business here and the landowner is saying, maybe you could consider this for housing. Is it suitable for housing is the question. Rather than we have a live business here, therefore we're not gonna even consider it. Is it suitable for housing?
It still says not suitable for housing.
Right.
Because of the
Then-
reasons,
then-
vehicle access and also the sewer system.
Yeah, so that's what we need to talk about.
Yeah, I think we've.
Rather than this issue of, brown business, that doesn't apply. If it's not suitable based on the fact that we have infrastructure issue, we have change of scenery issue, which would not apply at this point, because nobody knows what's going to get built.
I think there's, and also I think people mentioned the kind of challenge of having residential next to some of the nature of the businesses that it surrounds. Yeah, okay, is that?
So just
Can we just clarify what the comment we want to make?
What's the option? Is it very limited then?
No, no.
Well,
it's
we've got
just-
lots of them.
Highways, so
And then we-
highways and infrastructure.
Lots of them fine.
So impact on communities as in working communities.
Sewage.
I don't know about the.
Oh, you do not know that.
Yeah, I don't know that either, but the third one, so I think there's two, and the third one was to do with,
Change of scenery.
yeah, I think it was the challenge of having residential and,
Industrial.
yeah, industrial,
But-
business adjacent to the residential area.
But that's not,
Well, the
that's not the
point
case. This is proposing that the industrial unit goes and you have
Yeah, but there
residents,
was one left, I think we said, that outside the scope of this one, I think.
that building they use it in that.
But it was a business outside that scope.
It's business sites, so.
Yeah, either side of it. So on that basis, I think what we are proposing to do, and I'm going to take a vote now on, we are going to, excuse me, reject this particular consideration for residential on those three grounds. Those who want to support that rejection, could you raise your hands, please? 5. Anybody who wants to,
I am gonna abstain.
you're going to say that's 3 abstentions. Is, I don't know, numbers on here.
That the last one.
Business sites outside Howland Regis. Item 21826. Winfield. That's one.
Oh, it's this one.
So,
4 minutes.
What actual number is that one? Then? It's not on the list, is it? On the table.
Vermont Lake Haven Dunstall site 135341. Guys with Houghton Regis. Directly adjoins the Dunstall boundary that extends to approximately 4.36 hectares. It's been submitted for residential development. If this is the chunk above previous one where the school was. So this was the field, but this comes off the corner of French's Avenue.
This is
So what I mentioned about the road could run from French's Avenue.
Yeah, I think I know where that absolutely is now.
Yeah.
Forgot to relate that. This is a very big, potentially this is quite a big sizable site, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's adjoining that tiddly little plot we
Yes.
just discussed, and the previous school, so it's basically their infill,
Yeah.
and it's agriculture.
Well,
And then the views from Northwood.
Well, yes, and it's their boundary.
Which plan is this? Oh, it's that one.
it's just the other side of that other area.
It's one of the, it's not in our patch, but it's right next door.
This is Tottenham, then.
Houghton Regis.
It's but it's very close proximity. I mean, it's
Yeah.
essentially.
So, it's one of the questions I was going to ask Paul, actually. Is all the other councils in Bedfordshire going through this process?
Absolutely, yeah. They will be
Yes.
responding as well. Like they have the option to respond anyway. I actually don't know what Houghton Regis have responded to this. It does. It would raise the question. Would we want to change the parish boundary if that was created? But we've just had that discussion, so that won't come back around for a few more years.
Chair, Paul, I think that is an excellent point. I mean, looking at the physical presence of this is kind of technically Houghton Regis boundary that's going to impact almost wholly on Dunstable.
Dunstable.
Yeah, so it's almost,
Everything.
so whilst, yeah, at the moment, it's not in our gift, although I understand we can comment.
Yeah.
I would say the impact of this development would fall squarely on Dunstable, and particularly Dunstable Moor.
I think we'd need some consideration of, is it 106 funding? Because we wouldn't get any of that, would we, if it was a Houghton Regis site? So it'd be left with managing the, would that be right or not?
Not
No, sorry,
necessarily.
go on, Jane, you tell us.
Not necessarily, because if it's going to impact was fall into Dunstable and use of Dunstable services, then we could certainly make that case.
Okay.
So this isn't actually Houghton Regis, this is Sewell. I don't know why they've put it as Houghton Regis.
Okay.
We need to object to this.
Yeah.
on its proximity to the Maidenbower Hill Fort.
Yes.
The Maidenbower Hill
Oh, you
Fort
mean the actual,
is,
the old, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
like Neanderthal, like it's Neolithic is the Maidenbower Hill Fort. It's
Like that, yeah.
It's amazingly important to the
no,
area.
that is, I'm just trying to understand the proximity to this, because I use that all the time.
So it's, so the square is, the triangle is
Is that
here.
triangle?
Not bowling, isn't it? So it's, you know, that's the triangle.
That's the triangle.
Oh, yeah,
and
now I
that's
get
the
the
Hill
triangle
Fort.
now. Yeah,
That used to be the old tip.
okay, yeah, I can see it now.
You need to try and,
Yeah.
anything that gets anywhere near that, like I have to protect any land right from that boundary right to the Hill Fort, because the minute they start encroaching on that Hill Fort, it's just gonna go all the way to it, it's gonna take it over.
Well, I advise the first thing we need to do is get the motorcycles off, and that's more,
You do,
that's the more immediate concern.
yeah, I mean, the fort
For
itself,
now,
would
let's
stay.
focus with this one. So that's a really good point, because actually when you see the proximity, once I just, they can see.
That's the boundary.
It's this,
Good point.
it's that triangle here, right next to the Maidenbower.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very close proximity to it. Yeah. Not to mention how you get access to it. Okay, so, in terms of criteria then, it sounds like we're in agreement that, we wouldn't approve this for residential.
No.
The reasons sound quite similar to why we wouldn't have considered the area we're talking about, on the Downs, which is of, proximity to a.
Scheduled monuments.
Yeah, scheduled monument, thank you.
Access to
Access and infrastructure,
extension of the town boundary.
that arrangement's probably not actually. Let's stick to the things that, yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay,
get your
but
point,
the
but-
trouble is that's like a creeping barrage though, isn't it? Yeah.
But I don't think it's part of the planning consideration.
No,
So-
maybe it should be.
So we've got infrastructure, we've got highways, and we've got the monument. Yeah, I think that's probably sufficient. Views, definitely views, yeah.
Sorry, Max, just ask about the old tip. Has that not been put on here or anything? I mean, what's the down?
No.
No, it's not, it's
Yeah,
not.
it's car garage, isn't it?
I'm actually considerably annoyed, but that's where the little triangle one.
Yeah.
It might be because the tip is,
Contaminated land.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say dirty.
I should find out, we could probably specifically find out.
Well, Chair, I
We just-
suspect the developers have probably had some soil analysis and they've ran a quote for the decontamination. So you'd probably have to, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's finish the vote on
Yeah.
this then. So those who are in favour of objecting to this for residential purposes, could you please raise your hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and are you,
I'm abstaining.
you're abstaining, thank you.
I actually.
Right. Now, I think we've done them all. Tell me if we haven't.
Yeah.
Lisa, are you clear the reasons why we're
I
objecting?
think
or-
between Georgia, Paul and I, and probably James make some good notes, you're happy?
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Let me see, any other business I've missed? The next meeting is Monday, the 14th of September at 7 PM.
So I have a question for, the new, so. You know, when you did the neighborhood plan, we didn't go ahead with it because we thought that we didn't have any, correct me if I'm wrong, at the time we didn't think about developing, I think that's why we didn't go forward with it. Do you think it's something we can consider, the fact that, we're getting, this consultation?
Yeah, so.
We need to protect our green space.
Okay, so Paul, should we ask Paul to answer that? And if we think we should do something like that, we can bring it to the next grounds committee, I think, is for consideration, is what I propose. Paul?
That is a very good question. We spent money and went through quite a detailed process on deciding not to go ahead with the neighbourhood plan. More of our conversations were around the limited capacity we'd have for a neighbourhood plan that would make a difference, given the lack of a viable master plan for the town and unless you did some real, the main interests were, could you redevelop the town centre? How are we doing the conservation area? Those things aren't things we would influence probably with the neighbourhood plan because we don't own any of that land. So given that we don't own the land, we decided not to go ahead at this point with the neighbourhood plan, the local plan. Part of the game is the most recent plan is the one that's the most powerful, although the neighbourhood plan also always has to fit within the current local plan. So the thought had been that we could write a neighbourhood plan, get it done really quickly, and then CBC would have had to take it into account in this process. For right or wrong, we've missed that opportunity now. So I would suggest with a neighbourhood plan, we should leave it for now. Let CBC go through their process. We will influence as much as we can and reply to every consultation. Once the new plan is made, councils at that point may want to take a look at what that plan is and say, is there anything we could add to protect or develop on the back of what CBC maybe haven't covered in their local plan? At that point will be the time for us as a council to decide to review again, is there an opportunity that would be appropriate for us to develop a neighbourhood plan? I think doing it right now, we'd be kind of chasing CBC and anything they said would go against it anyway. So now would not be the time to have any real significance or impact through doing it. So I think it's one to put on the back burner, wait a year or 18 months and then come back to review at that point whether things have changed sufficiently to warrant us investing all that time and effort.
Thanks very much, Paul. Any comments?
Yeah, there's just other one thing I needed to clarify. Regarding all of this, it's a generalisation, and it's something one of the residents brought up earlier, which is very valid. We go through this process now, but how long is that for? Because obviously, you know, residents are saying, and they've got a very valid point there, is that, you know, they get a tick in the box, it's not being redeveloped, and then how long do they expect it to be before it can happen again? And obviously, you know, that is giving obviously a lot of concern and anxiety to a lot of residents, and it'd just be nice to know what the state of play is, or whether they see this as a 5-year thing, or revisit it again in 5 or 10 years, or quite where we stand with it.
So the local plan as it is being developed, this one will extend to 2050. It was originally going to be a shorter time frame. If you've noticed, the independents at CBC have been putting out this these Facebook posts that are like, everyone agreed 2,000 of more homes in the area. That's because we extended the plan time frame to be to 2050, not to like 2035 or 2040. We chose an extended time frame so that the plan would include that many houses and be there till 2050, and you would have an adequate housing supply for that period of time.
So are we saying that it wouldn't be revisited again until 2050? Is that
that is how it works. Like,
okay.
Otherwise it would get
assurances.
Yeah, because otherwise it would get to it'd be 10 years in,
yeah,
and everyone would be doing it again. As soon as we finish this local plan, they'd essentially be starting the process all over again in a couple of years.
Thank you. I think we should start to wrap up. So what more?
I was just going to say on the town plan, obviously without a town plan, we still get to speak on what's planned for the town anyway. So
yeah,
getting the opportunity to determine what's
Otherwise.
Okay, thank you. So we're still being recorded, so I need to draw the meeting to a close and to thank everybody who supported this, the members of the public, including one who's still here, anybody online, and obviously councillors. So thank you, everybody, and good night.